On this episode of the DIY Pro Show, we've set up our garage workshop to simulate a basement renovation so I can take you through Armstrong Ceiling's QuickHang grid hook installation system. And I like this product. Basically, this is the grid hook, and by squeezing the two flanges, it enables you to adjust the height of your ceiling so you can get it nice, level, and exactly where you want it. I'll take you through the steps on how to install it next. Before we get started, a breakdown in the components of the Armstrong QuickHang system. Now, you can buy the pieces as needed for your project, or you can purchase them in a QuickHang installation kit. That kit includes the QuickHang brackets, main runners, wall molding, fasteners, and one of the coolest parts of this, pre-bent wire. We'll get into this later. Alright, next step is to get a level line on this wall. QuickHang installation grids come with 12-inch rod or 6-inch rod and enable you to get your ceiling height set exactly where you want it. And the QuickHang grid system enables you to go from 2.5 inches below the ceiling joist to 12 inches below the ceiling joist. This is great for dealing with obstructions, getting around things. You can even do a tray ceiling. The first step, however, with a suspended ceiling, including QuickHang, is to establish a level line and install your wall molding. Now, there's no better tool to establish a level line than a laser level. I'm going to stop here to point out that the laser level doesn't tell you where your wall molding goes. It just shows you what level is. In this example, we're going to take and have our ceiling grid 4 inches down from our framing. So what that means is I will measure 3.25 inches down, and that will signify the top of my wall molding. Now, because I have a laser line that's level, I know that around the room I want to be 5 3/4 up from the line everywhere along my layout. That will ensure that the ceiling is flat even if the ceiling framing isn't. So I'm going to mark that now. Next step is to snap a line through the marks. Just to be a little extra precise, I sometimes like to add a square mark right there. And snap. The reason for marking and snapping the top of the line is if you have drywall installed, which in 99% of the cases you're going to, you want to be able to snap the top of the molding so you don't get chalk on the drywall or paint. Quick tip for working alone. Like this. The nails are just a little bit longer than the wall molding is wide. To keep the hammer away from both the molding and my fingertips, I use a pair of diagonal cutting pliers to just set the nail high in the molding. I'll drive the nail home from there. An alternative to using nails to set your wall molding is to use screws. To get that started, I take my handy dandy scratch-all pop a hole through, and then I can drive a screw in here. That separates the hammer from the edge of the molding. It might be a few more steps, but you lower the risk of damaging the molding by hitting it with your hammer. Here in our simulated basement, I'm just going to assign a value to what Armstrong calls the border panel width. That is, in any room, you're not going to lay out to a full panel on your outside run. So the best way to figure out the way your room is going to work is to visit armstrong.com and work with their layout tool there. There's also layout ideas in the instructions. For our purposes, we've just assigned a value of 8 inches. Whatever the number is in your house, make the mark on your ceiling joist. I like to square over so I have a nice line for my chalk line. I'll go down to the other end, mark 8 inches, snap a line between the two. And snap it. To install the Armstrong grid hooks, take the bottom flange and install it on the bottom of the joist. Line up the center hole with your line, then tap the prongs in and use a fastener. You can use nails, but I almost always prefer to use screws when doing home improvement projects. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right here. I love this. This is so cool. The challenge that Armstrong's QuickHang grid hook solves is, well, it's several layers. On a typical suspended ceiling, I would have to drive in a piece of hardware here with a bit that I don't usually carry, and I have to screw that in that way. Then I have to wrap it with wire, bring my wire down, eyeball it to the top of here, to the top of the wall molding, then take my linesman pliers and bend that at a 90-degree angle. A lot going on in a little space, and it's not always accurate. With the Armstrong QuickHang grid hooks, I can set pre-bent wire, and this will catch our main beams later, and I can set it roughly where I want it. We can come back and level it later. And where I want it, ultimately, is for this to be in plane with that. I'll set the rest of them, and we'll get the beams in. Just hook it in, ride it up, bend it over the hook, like this, and slide into place. In, flex, set. Another cool thing about the QuickHang grid hooks is that, unlike a wire I twist up and bend to a 90, when I turn this into position to catch the holes in my main beam, I turn them and they stay where I leave them. That's awesome. I can tell already. That's easy. One past. One past. This one. Two-foot cross tees, and we have ourselves a grid that we're now going to level up with the QuickHang system. One way to get a string or a rope taut and to keep it secure is with a knot that I call like I invented it, a knot called a trucker's hitch. On your long end, take and run a few twists, then pull this end through the loop you just made to create another loop. Then take what they call your running end, pull it through the loop. So you've got this, pull taut, pinch, and secure with a half hitch. Oh, I love a straight line. And time to level. Get that down there. Get this down here. That's right on the string. My preference for leveling a ceiling is with string lines running in a north, south, east, west axis to known level points. You can use a level, a magnetic level will stick right to the ceiling grid, and you can take and depress your Armstrong QuickHang ceiling brackets just so. That's right on the money there. That's right on the money there. If this were a real basement renovation, the next step would be to square up this grid and get ready to install ceiling panels. In the meantime, thanks for hanging out with us in the Garage Workshop and for watching this episode of the DIY Pro Show.